now from Nashville, Tennessee, it's time for another episode of Tips, Tactics, and Tools for a Safer Tomorrow, where all things related to your safety and security are discussed, detailed, and delivered to you. You may leave with a tip that saves you money or a tactic that saves your life. So here are your hosts, owner and founder of Defend Systems, Brink Fiddler, and owner and operator of Herring Technology, Tom Herring.
Hey everybody, welcome to this edition of Tips, Tactics, and Tools for a Safer Tomorrow. I'm your co-host, Brink Fiddler, owner and founder of Defend Systems. With me, as always, the founder and real star of this podcast, Tom Herring, owner and operator of Herring Technology. So there's a lot going on. There's always a lot going on in the security world, but especially in the world we live in right now. People tend to be flocking towards wanting to feel more safe and secure right now, more than we ever have in the history of this country. And there's a lot of ways to do that. But let me start off with Tom. How are you this morning?
I'm tired.
Tired?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you?
There we go.
What do you? Tired. That means a lot of things.
Yeah.
You're probably tired of something, if I had to guess. More so
That's
than just
more
sleepy.
it. Yeah, I got a good night's rest. I'm ready to go. Just, I don't know. We get tired of battling, in industry. That's, obviously we sell cameras and access control and, anything that can defend a perimeter or a house. And we have customers that want to design their own, from their thoughts and go to
You're being really nice.
Sam's and buy some cameras. And
you're choosing your words.
Yeah. And then you want to compare bids to that, and it's just not all the same.
No.
Overcoming those darn objections and value propositions, that's fun.
Absolutely. But it makes our job fun. It keeps us on our toes.
I'm not sure fun is the word I would have selected.
He used air quotes when he said fun.
Right.
Yeah. No, it's, that's why it's always nice to have a consultant that's outside of our business or their business that helps them guide them in those ways. But, TV kills us as well. Everybody sees things on shows, and everybody's an NCIS detective, and, because they've watched it, especially with Blue Bloods,
Yeah, of course.
They know it. So it makes it a little difficult, a little challenging.
Yeah, and, there are... You guys sell a lot of, I always say you're a solutions company, because you are. You've identified whatever issue or problem your client's trying to have, and you come up with a solution for them. And I think what you're getting at is a lot of times people think, well, why am I going to do that when I can go to Sam's Club or Costco and buy an 8-camera, system off the shelf and put it in myself? And why am I hiring you to do this when I can do this myself? And, you always say when you're at those places looking to purchase that thing off the shelf, there's the cameras they sell. And then if you look at the cameras that are actually in the building watching you, that's more along the lines of what you all install and do, because they're just two completely different things.
And not only is it a different camera that they're watching you with in Sam's and Costco, they were placed and put there based off statistics and a professional, a loss prevention person that actually looked at everything to decide where those go and how do we use them.
Right.
Which that's the biggest thing, the biggest difference we see.
So if I had to guess what might raise your blood pressure, the question that you get
Don't
asked
do this. Don't do this.
is,
you better get the edit button ready.
why is it so expensive? I can get a good system at Sam's for a lot less, for $100.
Then go get it. If that's what your life is worth, go get it and do it. If you want to lay down with that, that's fine. No, it's because there's background that goes into it. You can go buy a chainsaw off the shelf too. It doesn't make you, a lumberjack.
Right.
That's
for darn sure.
Exactly.
As evidenced by the scar on my knee. Different story. But.
Was that during police duty?
Oh, no. This was...
Okay.
No.
I didn't know if it was an interrogation process or something.
I can't talk about it. Statute of limitations hasn't run yet.
Are the chainsaws part of your interrogation process?
Can we move on?
So, and that's kind of the same thing. Yes, there are different qualities of cameras. There, different qualities of equipment. You've got to look at, what's the sustainability of that system, But the biggest part of it is, I kind of look at it as when your car is broken, you generally take it to a mechanic to get it fixed. Now, he's putting parts on that car that you could go to O'Reilly's Auto Parts and buy yourself and put on.
Yeah, sure.
And if you're mechanically inclined, great. That may save you some money. Do it. I fully encourage it. If you're me and I go to O'Reilly's Auto Parts and buy a part to put on a car, I'm going to create more money for the mechanic than what I was to start with, and that's generally the same thing that happens with these systems. And I'm not bashing, the systems that you can get, all the new Ring, Nest, Blink, all of those. We actually use those in some instances, and
they have their place.
Yeah, they have a place. They're great. The doorbells that go on the houses, we recommend them right off the bat. Understand their convenience. They are not a true security item. We hear a lot of, I need to know when it's right then, so it's proactive rather than reactive. Well, that is true. We want to set your system up to be proactive as well, and we do that with analytics, so it alerts you on different things. But at the same time, you do want the reactive as well. You want to find out what happened. You want to find out who it is. And if it goes to court, you want to be able to prosecute with it. So a lot of these cameras, it's not the camera itself. It's knowing how it works and where to place it and what you're looking for. And that's what our background and our training goes into. That's the difference. That's what you are paying for. Mm-hmm. It's not always just the equipment. The equipment is there. You want a good warranty on something. You want, a recorder that's proven. At our place, we generally do everything, on a open platform. We're not stuck to a brand where if your recorder goes down, I now have to send it off to get a replacement, bring it back. So I'm without my cameras for 2 weeks. We have solutions that we get around that. So we keep your cameras up and going. They're going to go down. Mm-hmm. That's the other thing. It's all technology. It needs power and it needs communication. And those are the two basic necessities that so many times get neglected during the install. And, people will go buy a system, and what do? They plug it in the closest plug right there. Well, power goes out. What happens? If you have a computer, when the power goes out and it comes back up, does it always come right back up to where it was before?
Never.
Exactly. So you have to go back in, reset. So how do you get around that? Well, you have to put a UPS in place.
Tell people what a UPS is.
Yeah, it's not the big brown truck that delivers. It's actually an uninterruptible power source, a little battery backup that you can get at Office Depot or Walmart or anywhere. And generally, you buy it with surge protection as well. And that is another big factor with all the pop-up storms we've had lately. Our service department has been running absolutely crazy with all the lightning strikes.
Wow.
So, you plug that in, so if the power blinks or anything, your camera system never goes down right then. Now, generally, you're only going to hold it for 15 to 20 minutes. And if the power stays out longer, then you are going to have to reboot, everything just like you would.
Have you gotten into the battery backup systems for homes and stuff like that at all? Or?
Absolutely. I mean, that's it's more cost, but for people who are interested in it, yes, we'll do a battery backup system or even a small generator that you keep your essential plugs on, your fridge, your freezer, your electronic security equipment, and the UPS will hold that over, because a lot of people will put a generator in and do not understand, and that's why you have a UPS, an uninterruptible power source, is because even if you have a generator, The way that automatically comes on in a house or a business, wherever they have one, power goes down. When it loses power, that cuts a signal out on the generator, and the generator knows to turn on and go. But there's a 5 to 15-second gap there that there's a blink in power. The UPS bridges you over to that, so you do not lose that power during that time.
So I guess it depends on the. Well, not I guess it does. It depends on the client. If you're just a regular residential homeowner with no real huge security concerns, but you want a camera system on your house, I'd put it on a UPS just to handle the power blinks, the power surges, all that kind of stuff. But if you have actual, if you're a business or if you have, heightened need for security, then, the UPS is only there to buy you that time in between the generator kicking on and, and the power going out. So, yes, you can do a battery backup system. Of course, it's a lot of batteries and, it'll only run so much depending on the amperage draw and everything else. But understand that UPS is only a tool to buy you a little bit of time. It's not the solution to your, the power goes out, these still work as long as I want them to. Well, no, it's a battery.
Correct.
A battery. They will run out of power eventually. So there are clients you have, residentially speaking, that have that need and that level of security to bring you in and install your system, which is extremely professional. What would you say, 80% of the time serviceable remotely?
Correct.
That's another huge deal, right?
It's probably higher than 80%. We haven't run it, here lately, but most of the camera work that we do, we can service remotely, and it's probably higher than 80%. It's probably pushing the 90% mark, which means it's not a call for us coming out, and that gets to the second essential. We said power, and the second one was communication.
Right.
It's the link between either the homeowner and their equipment, whether it be on their phone, whether it be they can log into it from work, wherever it be. What is that communication? Is it the phone line? Is it their internet? Is it cellular? Because if it's internet, you lose internet feed from time to time as well. Those things are out of our control at that time. So if you're getting into it real heavy, where you have to have constant, we put in a cellular modem to where it's, we're transmitting over the cellular, and between the two, internet or cellular, generally we can get in. If they're both down, there's probably a lot of people in trouble.
I was about to say, you're not a miracle worker.
Exactly. Then we're beyond that. The third essential in that is placement.
Amen.
And that's where I'm going to say the majority fail.
Yep, agreed.
It's, even our competitors. I will brag on that. That's placement is when people start arguing over. Well, it's a 3 megapixel camera. It's a 5 megapixel camera versus yours, and da 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 da. And it's like, it doesn't matter if it's not put to where it can be in optimal conditions to see. You can get a 400 megapixel camera. And if you put it at 8 feet above a door looking down, and a guy or a girl is breaking into a house wearing a hat, it's not getting their face.
Or even if they're not wearing a hat, 8 feet and looking down, it's probably not going to get their face very well.
Unless they have a bald spot with a distinguishable tattoo on top of it.
Yeah, like a barcode or whatever.
Yeah.
He's talking about me.
Yeah.
I looked at Jim when I said that, actually. Is the only identifiable thing you're going to get. So I can take a 1 megapixel camera, bring it down, put it there, capture their face at normal height, and we're good to go. So placement is everything. And as we've said on here, we look at everything in placement. A camera has a purpose. What's its purpose? And there, especially if you're dealing with non-security people, and it's to see. Yeah, well, what are you wanting it to see? And people look at us like we're crazy. And we hand them a list going, okay, if we put the camera here, what are you wanting it to see? Like, the bad people. It's like
the boogeyman.
Yeah, the boogeyman. And that's not what we're getting at. We break cameras down into observation, recognition, and then identification.
Yep.
And generally, that's not a different camera. It can be, You know,
Sure.
there are if we're going, you know, on top of a 5-story building and we're looking out, then yes, that's a much higher price camera, and we're doing an observation view of the parking lot. What happened? I saw the red car come in, the guy jump out, go over, do something to somebody in the parking lot, jump back in a red car and take off. That's observation. If somebody's watching that live, they know that just happened.
Oh, and by the way, he's wearing a mask.
Yeah, now megapixels
Different
do
episode.
not read through masks right now. So thank you, COVID, for making our world much more.
Has that
difficult.
been an issue for you guys? Like looking at footage and stuff like that? Is that starting to be an issue with
Yes.
people identifying?
Yeah,
culprits?
very much.
Really?
We're having, you know, not to give out all secrets, but it's the masks do pose a problem. You're having to look for identifying features now, tattoos, clothing. And it's funny because people wear the same clothes. Brink, I'm sure in your past have
Yes.
just it
I
wears.
can't tell you how many times I've heard the following phrase: "These aren't my pants."
Really?
Oh, we had
Well, we just pulled an ounce of cocaine out of your pocket. Yeah, but these aren't my pants. That's actually very common.
I borrow pants all the time. I mean, you don't.
Can I borrow your pants?
Yeah. And don't take stuff out of the pockets either.
Yeah.
No, we had one, and it was funny. And I'm not a big NASCAR guy, and I don't know it, but it was a NASCAR jacket this guy was wearing, and it was Eminem,
Mm-hmm.
not the rapper,
Not right.
but the
Got it.
the Eminem,
The candies.
full leather jacket with
Yeah.
that full. And so
I've seen them.
when we reviewed the footage he's wearing. Now, the fact that it's July and he's wearing it during footage is one thing.
We call it Clue.
Yeah, exactly. And then when they pick him up and we put him together, he's still wearing the Eminem leather NASCAR jacket the next day. And it's like, okay.
Everybody's got one of those.
Yeah, exactly. They're everywhere. I see them all the time. No offense to whoever the M&M driver is. I mean, you're very popular, I know. But not in this setting of where
Right.
we were, you were not. So, anyway, so that goes to the observation cameras. Then we go to the recognition cameras at our entry points and things like that. You want to be able to capture, and people say, well, what's the difference in recognition and identification? If an individual knows someone, they can tell by how they walk, how they, what they look like, that you're going, oh, that's Charlie. I see him every day. But if a stranger walked in and looked at that video right at that time, and then Charlie walked up, he probably couldn't identify Charlie from that,
Right.
not knowing Charlie. That's recognition. And then identification, we like to put, 5'5", 5'6" on a door so that it gets under the bill of a hat or anything that gets their mug right when they walk in. And that's our identification. Mm-hmm. It's not a higher quality camera. It's placement.
Yeah.
In a business, we'll use the same camera for observation, recognition, and identification the majority of the time. It's just the placement of it, which there again goes back to has nothing to do with the megapixels of a camera. So we those are buzzwords that people get tied up on, and it's frustrating. Where it does help you is in the new IP systems, is in playback, because all of these systems, the better systems, have when you review footage and you're looking back, they have digital PTZ that can be used after the fact. And if you don't know what PTZ is, that's a pan, tilt, zoom camera that if somebody's sitting there manning it, they can zoom in, get a better picture. They can spin the camera around to follow an individual. But it doesn't do you any good after the fact when you're reviewing footage. It's only filming what it's seeing in the position it's in. So when you're reviewing footage, that's a hard thing to do, but now with the new IP systems, it's digital. So you can do it with the recorded video. The higher the megapixel, the further you can zoom in after the fact.
Meaning you can zoom in on the video you're playing back. You can pause it, whatever, or not, and zoom in on that actual video, not the live feed.
Correct.
Right. Okay.
So you're going in on the recorded footage, and you can zoom in, and if it is a lower megapixel camera, the closer you get, it's going to start digitizing, going out. You're not going to see it.
Yeah.
The higher the megapixel, though, we can zoom in further.
Got it.
So it is all for that. And all of that goes to when you go to court for it. And you say, well, that's great after the fact, but it's not helping me before. Well, you still, when you go to court, you want to be able to use that footage. You want to be able to prosecute that individual off of their crime with that video evidence. And so it's putting a puzzle together.
Yeah.
And that's what the other thing our company does that some of the competitors do not, most of the competitors do not. We help you with that.
You start with the problem in mind, and you work backwards.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's why I've always called them a solutions company.
It's a little different. You have to say, what is our end game with this?
Right.
And before I was in this, yeah, give me cameras. I want to see who did it. I'm going to go to their house and jerk them out of their house, and I'm going to take care of justice right now. It's just like it is on TV.
Amen.
And it's not that way. When you get into that court and they have a defense attorney sitting there going, oh, really? Can the jury recognize that person from that footage?
Right.
Nope. All right, then toss that footage out. It just went out of the way.
It's almost like you have some experience in that.
With a little bit.
Maybe how herring technology came to be.
You do HOA pools at all? Is that part of your offering?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. And there's usually a little difference. We're looking for liability there. Brink always brings up why you buy cameras. It's for security, but you generally use them for liability and accountability.
Yeah.
For the pools, yes.
Do they detect age?
No age. No age.
Age detection camera?
Even in our analytics, our best analytics do not distinguish age at this time.
Yeah.
We can distinguish a lot, color of clothing, male, female. Sometimes it gets a little harder these days.
Yes. Agreed.
You guys, those movies when they do the, and I don't know if you call BS on this when you see them in movies, but they'll review footage in a television show or a movie, and they'll zoom in on somebody and be like, enhance the image, and then completely sharp image of whoever they're looking at. Is that even possible?
To a degree, it is. Obviously that's Hollywood, and we always tell everybody, that's what they're watching on TV, so that's what they think when they, call us to do it. And it's like, yes, it can be, but you have to have Hollywood's budget to get that. Now, it is getting better because, as I said, the IP cameras with the reviewing the footage and the digital PTZ, which that's what that is after the fact. You can. There are, if you have the higher quality cameras, you can go in and zoom in after the fact. But we get some good ones. It's like, well, who shot the guy in the elevator? Right. The cameras, look at his eye. You can see the reflection of the person. I'm like, come on, man. You're getting me. Now, I will say, we were looking for a shooting suspect downtown, and the only way we could even possibly get an image of the shooter who was in the passenger side of the car, we had a camera pointing at a front door, which obviously for the business owner, it was watching their front door that did have a reflective tint to it.
Yeah.
And when they turned the corner right there to take a right-hand turn, the passenger's face, we got a glimpse out of the reflection. The camera's pointing the opposite direction, and we were able to get a little bit of nothing that would stand up in court, but it gave you a piece of the puzzle to get there. Yeah. And a lot of times, and when you get to the investigation stage and you're going to court, you have to remember, we're trying to if you take a puzzle and you dump it out on the table and you didn't have the cover of the box to look at, to put the pieces together, a lot of times we're not going to be that actual piece that goes in and completes your puzzle, which is your court case. But we're trying to give you enough information to at least give you the cover of the box so that you know how to put the puzzle together. And that evidence can be used. And I'll just leave that there because that can go several ways, and we probably don't need to discuss all of that.
No, but this is going to be, just so you guys know, this is going to be a two-part episode because we're going to get into what are some alternatives, right? If you don't need Tom's full-bore IP server-based system, your average Joe homeowner, we're going to talk about some of that. A couple things I want to touch on, though. Number one, if you guys don't know what IP cameras are, it stands for Internet Protocol. And you basically run an Ethernet or Cat6 or Cat5 cable, like that comes in over your internet, and that's what runs to your camera. Most of the time, that's what powers your camera also. So if you don't understand what IP systems are, they're internet-based systems, server, easier to maintain, easier to fix remotely like you guys do all the time. Saves you a service call, gets you back up and running a lot faster. And the other thing I wanted to hit on was you talked about the placement of cameras, and y'all like to put them about 5'5", 5'6". Traditionally, uneducated people in the security industry, or not, even consumers, think you have to put cameras up high enough where they can't get messed with, or we got to put the vandal-proof camera up so it doesn't get destroyed. We're not recording locally to that camera. So if somebody walks up to a camera at 5'5", 5'6", and smashes it, well, okay, you've got great footage of them because you put it at the right height to get that footage. That's not, but people get so, they think they got to hang them on the eaves or put them up on the light poles. And you go to any Walmart, any mall, and they've got observation cameras, and you should have them. I'm not against them, but
Yeah, you need, those are
to get the big picture.
to get the big
Yes.
picture, absolutely.
and see which way the shooting suspect turned on, Meridian or whatever. Great. I mean, but people get so hung up on, we can't put it that low. People can mess with it, or you're missing the point. Like, if I'm a criminal, I'm not thinking I'm gonna walk up to that door and smash that camera and then kick the door in. I'm thinking, well, crap, they're gonna see exactly who I am with that
Before
camera.
I smash it in.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, so we got to break the mold a little bit, but you guys have broken the mold quite a bit in this industry with what y'all do, the back end support, helping them build their case, the customer service, the service calls. That's just where y'all kick the crap out of everybody, is on the service side, and long-term customer relationship, hands down.
Yeah, and the other side of that I do want to emphasize is everybody out there has to understand it's a team approach. Everybody, they call us in, they'll go, well, you're the experts, that's why we want to talk to you. And It's like, yes, I get that. But we can do a system for your home or your business that we think is just right. You live there, you work there every day. Mm-hmm. You have those little gut instincts of where something's going to happen.
Right.
Protect your building. Protect
Correct.
your facility. Yeah.
You know where those creep spots are. Mm-hmm. We may not see that because we're not there with the daily traffic every day. I mean, we try our best to pick those out. So the customer plays a role in that with us, of helping us design. We listen to them.
Right.
They tell us what their issues are and their problems. And a lot of times they're telling us stuff and they're just chatting. And that we'll pick a problem up, but that they don't even realize is a problem.
Right.
And it tells us how to design their building. Generally that gets into access control more than anything. Oh, we're fine. I had one last week that has perimeter gates, multiple gate entrances, and they have padlocks and chains on them. And, many people use this facility. And I said, well, who controls the keys? And the guy says, oh, I do, and we have full control over that. Yeah. And it was like, really? How do you have full control over that? Because if one person loans out their key to someone else, you have no idea who just came back in, And then we find out, not only that, every lock is keyed alike at all the entrances. So I only need one key to get in every one. That's not, you don't have control over that, And we had to let them understand that. And then all of a sudden he goes, well, I had some air conditioning guys that were in here the other day. And he goes, they left and another trade or somebody else showed up and they were inside the gate. And I said, well, did you give them a key? He was like, no. And he goes, the air conditioner guy let them in. Did the air conditioning company know who that individual was? You didn't. You didn't know he was even in your facility.
No.
You know, so you had control over it. And he's like, oh, my gosh. We don't have good control over this.
Yes. That is not access control.
Correct. Well, it's access control, but it's not controlled.
But Costco said
It's
it was.
access.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's the thing is that one of the absolute, what I always like to try and draw out is an absolute takeaway, right? It's black or white. So in this case, let the home systems be for the home. They're not the same thing.
Correct.
You got to look at it
Most
this
of the
way.
time, right?
Yeah. They are helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very helpful. But they have their weaknesses.
Yeah.
And one weakness I do want to point out at that, one of the benefits of all the Blink cameras, the Nest, Ring, all of that, it is putting more cameras out right now. So we see a lot more stuff that generally, you know, they're affordable,
Yeah.
they're easy access to put in. But to protect your home, please understand, most of those are based off of what? We said power and communication.
Don't give too much away. This is part 2.
But, okay. But you do need to understand the communication part of that generally is Wi-Fi. A true criminal is going to walk up with a jammer in his pocket that shuts all your Wi-Fi down anyway to try and block any signals that are going out, doing
Oh, wow.
anything. You've lost your cameras at that point in time. Now, the typical thug tugging on car handles outside, they're not going to be using they don't care.
Right.
You know. So,
But even, you know, overcoming the initial thought of the show, what we talked about of what you're tired of, is also the other stuff we talk about, not just the cameras, the lighting, you know, things of that nature, right?
absolutely.
If you see a building that's lit up like daylight, you look at twice dailies, right, around here in Nashville, there's not going to be there's very little chance of any criminal activity happening there.
Yeah.
They're lit up like daytime.
Yeah. And we've spent a ton of time on cameras today and a little bit on access control. But if we come and do an assessment or we bring in a third-party person to access, you're exactly right. The majority of the things on that list are not going to be the technology and the equipment. It's going to be the lighting, the shrubbery, the environment itself more than our equipment.
Yeah.
And that's all part of that security synergy we've discussed before.
Amen.
Comprehensive building defense.
That's right.
Amen. He always comes up with the one-liners,
Exactly.
you know.
I like that.
Yeah.
I know.
That's
It's building
good.
defense. That's what
Well,
you do.
It is.
Correct. And personal defense and all
what you
sorts
bring to
of.
the table.
I tell Tom all the time that his tagline should be "We protect it all" because they do. But I hope you guys come back for part 2 of this episode. We're going to get into a little bit more of this residential full picture stuff. Again, people are so concerned, and rightfully so, right now with security. I mean, there's a heightened awareness for lots of people. Gun sales are absolutely through the roof, as they should be, in my personal opinion. Some people have shotguns behind every door, you know, just things like that.
There's some that do not.
Yes, there are.
Hey,
what are you guys talking about?
But
we don't need
I
to
have a
disclose
new
that.
garage door opener, so there's
yes, you
That's right.
do.
And we'll discuss that
Yes.
later.
So come back for part 2. Thanks for listening to this edition of Tips, Tactics, and Tools for a Safer Tomorrow. You can always find us on Facebook, Twitter, or reach out to us at tipstacticstools.com.
I'm out.